Now that we've heard about the killer foods, I'm here to show you some of the natural foods that you can incorporate into your recipes and your diet. The first one we're going to start with is sugar. Replacing sugar can be a difficult thing if you don't know what products to use. Some of the transitional foods that you can use would be pure maple syrup or brown rice syrup. We've also got a raw honey here that you could use. What I like to use is dates, figs, or raisins. And I like to take those and put them in a blender with some distilled water and blend that up to make a paste. And that would come out like any of these products, but it's more from a natural state. You can replace all of those sugar products one-on-one in any recipe that calls for sugar. There's also sweet fruits such as bananas and apples that you can slice on your salads, and that would sweeten up your foods as well. Replacing grains in your diet, replacing the white flour in your diet is something that is easy to do with a grain that would be better for you. We've got some ground oat flour here. There's also rice flour or spelt flour that can be used to exchange for the white flour in your recipes. Another way to get grains into your diet on a whole foods basis is just to use the whole grains themselves. We've got oat groats and rice and some quinoa here just as an example of some of the whole grains that you can use. Those can be cooked or soaked. Replacing coffee in your life is something that people have a little trouble with. Sometimes coffee is used just as a social element, having a warm cup of coffee in your hands or conversing with somebody as you're sipping on something is something where coffee comes into play. You can replace that coffee with an herbal tea. We've got a couple of herbal teas here, and there are some grain-based drinks such as Pero or Roma that you can use that have a more of a coffee flavor. Sodium is another item that we need to address as one of the killer foods. What we can replace that with is Celtic sea salt. It's a natural, unrefined salt that's used in place of table salt. It's wonderful because it's got all the trace element minerals that come from the ocean as well. If you want to get rid of the salt, you can use celery in your juices, in your salads. You can just eat celery sticks with some almond butter on it. It's got a great source of natural sodium in it. Another thing I like to do is use spices or even nutritional yeast on top of our soups, our salads, any entree that calls for salt that needs some sort of flavor. Nutritional yeast is a great tasting topping that you can put on, and it is sodium free. The last killer foods that we're going to discuss is dairy products. And that can sometimes be a difficult area, but it shouldn't be because there are wonderful foods out there in the market right now that can replace those dairy products. There's almond cheese, rice cheese, there's almond milks and rice milks and oat milks. And I like to make almond milk just from almonds. What I like to do is take a cup of almonds and 6 cups of distilled water. And then I add to that 3 dates that I've taken the pits out of. Everything goes into a blender and it gets blended up and put through a cheesecloth to get the grittiness out of it. It becomes a beautiful white milk, and I happen to have some here. This can be used in any recipe or just drank right out of the glass. It's delicious, and it's a nutritious way. It's using the raw almonds, distilled water, 2 or 3 dates, and you've got yourself a wonderful milk replacement. Ice cream is another challenge for some people, but there are, again, in the frozen dairy section, ice creams that are made out of rice, out of soy, out of oats that you can buy. But what I like to do again is make my own, and I always have frozen bananas on hand. I peel the bananas, keep them in the freezer so everything is nice and frozen, and you can add other frozen fruit to it such as strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and you put everything through a Champion juicer or a Green Life juicer, and it comes out just like frozen ice cream. You can top it with some nuts or some carob sauce, and it's a delicious dessert. These are just some of the natural foods that you can incorporate into your diet to replace some of those killer foods. I hope you have fun finding these foods and putting them into your recipes, adding them to your life so that your life is healthier and more balanced.